And so, after looking at the thumbnail and reading the title of this video, if you have no idea what I am talking about, I do suggest you go over to TikTok and watch Risa's 50-part series on Who the F Did I Marry? Yes, I said 50-part series. And that whole story comes out to about 7.5 hours worth of listening time. She was very thorough, detailed, and took full accountabilities for her action in this whole situation. When I started listening to Risa's story, I had no idea where we were going with this. I had no idea what I was walking into. Had no idea if I was going to finish it, if I was going to believe her. I knew absolutely nothing. So I just listened. I didn't write any notes. I didn't go back. I didn't pause. I didn't write down dates or months or anything. So, if you are here for a 7.5 hour recap, I am the wrong video. Again, I repeat, if you are here for a 7.5 hour recap, you are in the wrong video. If you are here for accuracy in regards to dates and places they ate and this is and that and like full accuracy, again, this is not the video for you. So much happened in this detailed story that I am going to take maybe 10 minutes to summarize this. We are going to talk about how this could even happen because, see, this situation is more common than people think. You know, people who are pathological liars, manipulators, narcissists, and that word narcissist, I didn't even learn, but learned it from my Patreon family, from Navy Bitch. And then I have like my own story time kind of wrapped into all of this. So let's just get to. So this is my fast-paced summary. Again, if you're looking for dates and accuracy, you're not going to get that here. I'm just going to give you the gist of the story. So we have a lady by the name of Risa. Now, I do not know how old she is. Maybe I did miss that part, but I do know she spoke about pregnancy in this story. And one thing she kept mentioning is she thought her pregnancy would go bad because she was stressed, but she kept mentioning because of her age. And so, if I had to guess, I would say that she is in her mid to late 30s, early 40s. That's the best I can give you. Now, her ex-husband, she refers to him as Legion in her video. She was very careful in regards to giving his full government name. I have no idea how everyone found out his name is Jerome McCoy, but we did. And maybe it's because his ex-wife, his girlfriend, now another girlfriend came about, you know, talking about this. But then he had the audacity to, I really shouldn't say audacity, but I am. He wants to tell his side of the story. A pathological liar wants to tell his side of the story. Okay, so anywho, we have Lisa, and we have Jerome. Now, from what I gather, they met on a dating website. I don't have the website down. I do not know, but they met online. They were talking online, and I think on the phone. I'm not sure, but I do know their first meet and greet happened because something happened with her car. Now, me thinking about it, I want to say it has to do with a tire, because I remember correctly her saying the fact that he paid for it was impressive. So I want to say a tire. I could be wrong. Point is, they met for the first time when she had this car situation, and she was, flattered on what she saw. He was handsome, he was charming, he was nice, and from the way he spoke, he was financially stable. After the car situation, they went to dinner, they spoke, they liked each other, they spoke some more. After dinner, in the car, they liked each other, they spoke some more. So, there was definitely a connection. As this connection is happening, something else is happening in the world, and that thing is called the pandemic. And so she goes to mention that after 2 weeks of them meeting, the state of Atlanta went on a lockdown, and so the two decided that they wanted to be on lockdown together. And in my opinion, this was mistake number one. I could not imagine myself being in lockdown with someone that I just met for 2 weeks, because what happens if they're annoying? What happens if they smell? What happens if they snore? 2 weeks. Say he's grumpy, say he's an asshole. 2 weeks. But you know what? People are grown. They did it. Now, this is the part that I would like to mention that he actually lived. I don't know if it was a 1-bedroom or a studio apartment. I do not know. I want to say a studio apartment because there was a conversation. I do know that her apartment, she had more, she either had like a 2 or 3-bedroom apartment. Her place was bigger, and he also explained that he was living in this studio apartment because he was looking for a house, and that he did not want to waste that much money on rent since he wanted to move into a house. This is where he starts telling her the story about he was either a pro football player, because he told females more than one lie, because like I said, more females are coming about this Jerome character, but the running theme seems to be that he was a football player, whether it was pro football or somewhere overseas. He played football, which is why he supposedly had like all this money. And also too, this explained why he had like a offshore account, because he made so much money and the taxes in America, was too high, so he was better off keeping his money on an offshore account. That is a second red flag for me. If we live in the States and anybody that has an offshore account, that is just questionable for me, because I have learned from movies and from everything else, if an American has a offshore account, it's because it's either embezzlement or laundering or something. It's not just because you don't want to pay taxes. I could be wrong, but for me, that is something I would have to definitely question a little bit more, this offshore account, because that just sounds like a drug deal or something. Anywho, so he does go into, he was a pro football player. Then he also starts to build his story. So now he's stating that he can get a loan, or did she fall for that and he was broke? Well, if someone is showing you a letter from Chase Bank or Key Bank or whatever, is anyone gonna sit there and question it? I don't think so. Because it wasn't until later that she did a reverse image search, and he actually also admitted to that Chase letter being off of Google. If that movie Catfish or that TV show Catfish, if we didn't learn anything else from that show, we better have learned reverse image search. Anytime someone gives you like a photo or they claim they're, somewhere out, just put the photo in reverse image search on Google. You will find out a lot, because a lot of times people are pulling shit from Google. People are pulling shit from these social medias and cropping themselves into it. Again, a reverse image search will show you if the person's profile is really theirs or someone else's or whatever. So Catfish has done their job. Everyone, please learn reverse image search. But anyway, he was showing her paperwork, he was showing her bank statements, but all of it was fake. A lot of it was just like a screenshot of something off of Google or a screenshot off of someone else's bank statement. None of it was real. But in her eyes, if someone is showing you, proof, who are we to say, well, let me reverse, Google search that. No one is going to do that right away. And so now she's thinking he has all this money and that they can get a house for at least up to $800,000. He also goes into that he is a VP for a condiment company. I want to know if that was Heinz, because she kept using the word condiments, but was that ketchup? Was it mustard? Was it relish? What type of condiments? Then again, I don't know what condiment places are in Atlanta, but either or, he claimed he was a VP, and that because of this new position, he was actually also going to get a company car, and that he was allowed to pick out, and it could be up to $90,000. So here we are again. So we have this man that is telling this young lady this false hopes and dreams that he has all this money, an offshore account, he was a pro football player, he's gonna buy a house, he's already approved for this money, all of it, and we cannot forget that company car. So they start looking for a house, and the first red flag was, now this first house, I'm not gonna get too much into it because there was a lot that happened with this first house, but long story short, it was a lot of, we signed papers on this date and the closing on this date, but every time they had a date, something fell through. And I know at one point she got frustrated and called the realtor that they were supposedly working with, and the realtor didn't have a effing clue on what she was talking about in regards to putting money down and saving in, about to close and this and that. The realtor was like, what? So now she's suspicious. And so she goes and asks, her boyfriend what is going on, and he claims that he no longer used that realtor, that he was going to use his boy that was a realtor because he wanted his boy to get commission. Okay, so she kind of believed that. Do you know? As we know, there was no house, there was no loan, there was no money. But this is the part where I say the lengths he went to cover these lies. So there was no house, but he proceeded to take her to not one, two, but three furniture places, having this lady pick out a bedroom set, bathroom set, living room said, furnish the first bedroom, second bedroom, third bedroom, because in this new house, I think it was like 4 bedrooms or whatever. And she was excited, and he's like, yeah, pick everything out. And do you know that this man actually had like the sales rep write out everything, a sales slip. They even had a delivery date, y'all. This man is putting money down for it. He's doing all of this, and there was no house. Wasn't it bad enough that he took her to one furniture store? No, he took her to 2 and to 3. And so that would have made me so mad, because see, here's the thing. We could have just went to 1. No, you took me to 3. And it's the writing up the receipts for me for the sales with the sales rep. Because see, my question is this, because she did answer a lot of questions, but the one question I would love to know is, after they did all this, did our man like call back right before closing and say, hey, you remember me? Yeah, can you actually rip up everything we just did today, because there is no move? Like, how did that work? Because she said they went to Raymond and Ashley's, and like, this man is really, he was really out. He was really out here having her pick out furniture for a house they did not have. Anyway, something like, I don't know whether she was too tired of the situation or whatever. By the way, during this first house search, she did come up pregnant. Unfortunately, she did lose the baby through a miscarriage, but I don't know if it was because she wanted to move before like this baby was born. I don't know if it was like in her intuition or whatever, but she decided to like, start searching on this house that they were supposedly gonna get. And then she noticed like on Zillow or something that the house was sold or closed or whatever. She ended up calling their realtor, and then come to find out through an array of questions or whatever, she found out that the house was sold to a old white couple. Now, I pointed that out because if the realtor said, it was sold, to a couple, that could have really meant her and her boyfriend, right? But she was like, she didn't remember what question she asked, but whatever it was, the realtor was like, oh no, it's an old white couple or whatever. So she realized that her boyfriend lied about this whole house situation. So this is where she's starting to take accountability. She admits that she knew something was wrong, and she knew that he lied, but because she was pregnant, irritated, thinking that this was the man of her dreams, praying that, it was her turn. The fact that she was saying that she was praying it was her turn, I think every female out there who is not, in a relationship or married, right? I think we all felt that sentence, I wanted it to be my turn. So she did know that after the fact that she knew for a fact he lied about this first house, she basically would accept any lie that, he gave, and that's exactly what happened. So then they went on in regards to 2 more houses, but she does admit that those 2 houses did not fall through because of him. It kind of fell through because of her, whether it was something she didn't like or whatever. But this 4th house is really when she started to say, okay, what the fuck? So there was this house that she actually wanted. This would be house number 4, a house that she really, really wanted. And, he actually put in like a cash offer. And so the person selling the house was basically like, well, we will take your cash offer as soon as you prove that you have this money in the bank. And I don't know what the settlement was. If I'm being honest, I think it was like $600,000 they were putting a cash offer for. And the couple the bank, because if he sees that, then he might up the offer. And she's like, no, if he's telling you that you will accept this offer, just prove to him that you have the money. What is the problem? She could not figure out the problem. And so, at the end of the day, that family ended up backing out of that deal. Even the realtor was over it. Was like, you know what? Until you actually show me that you actually have money for these places, don't bother calling me. Because at this prompt moment, the realtor is not down for the bullshit. And throughout all of this house searching in between, he's also searching for remember that company car we spoke about? Yes, he's actually searching for a company car. And so, since he's shopping for a company car, he tells his girlfriend that, you know what, there's more money left over. Why don't we buy you a car as well? So, he goes ahead and gets her excited. Not only did he bring her to dealerships, he had her test drive so many cars, and I want to say it was about 20 cars, and I don't want to exaggerate. Again, I'm not accurate on this video, but it was a lot. It was a lot over days and days and days. And anytime, she had her heart set on a car, he would say, you know what, why don't you get this in this color, why don't you get that? And she was like, no, I want this, I want that. But the point is, anytime they sat down to do the deal, it was always the same thing. Like, okay, well, you know what, write out all your numbers, right? And I also need like your wiring information, so my, bank can wire the money, this and that, or my company. It was this whole wiring money situation, and he said that to every single dealership they went into. If you hadn't guessed, that they never got no car. They never got no car. There was no wiring of the money. There was none of it. There was other little things, like for instance, he actually lied and said that he had 2 or 3 brothers and 2 sisters or something like that. He would actually be on the phone with someone every single morning, and in her eyes, it was like one of his brothers. He actually made up this whole story that him and his brothers and sisters, they were so close, and this and that and this and that. And so every morning or every day, he'd be on the phone, like acting like he's laughing and talking and this and that, and like acting like he's communicating from the phone to her. Babe, Chris says hello. She'd be like, tell him I said hi, type of shit. And he'd be like, yeah, she said hi. Oh, he wants to know if we can come this weekend. Nah, she said this weekend wasn't good, dog. Like, he was having a whole conversation. Come to find out, there was nobody on the other end. Nobody. Those 2 sisters that he was talking about, he had no sisters, like, at all. There was no sibling as a sister. The names that he mentioned, that he was talking to, he referred to them as sisters, but then come to find out they were like cousins or some shit. But those cousins were dead, and his grandfather that he supposedly was talking about, he was dead. Like, a lot of people that he mentioned had died like 5, 6, 7 years ago. And at one point, I was saying to myself, so is he actually like seeing these people, or is he really thinking that he's having a conversation with these people? But then the way she explained it, like he would just pick up the phone and dial. But she would admit that she would never hear, the other person on the other line, just random, and then you hang up and call somebody else and be like, yeah, what up, sis? But there was no one on the phone. He didn't have any sisters, and then even down to the whole brother situation, like after she reached out to the family, I think she spoke to his aunt or something. The aunt let him know that none of the brothers talked to him or fuck with him. That's when she found out there was no sisters. So even if he mentioned the right brother on the phone, some of them haven't even spoken to him in 20 years. And then this is not. So he was living his life through his twin brother, but didn't have a pot to piss in. This man was getting up every day to go to work. Come to find out, some of the days he did not have a job, some of the months he did not have a job. But he left the same hour, came home around the same time. But then we know he was working with a temp agency, so it was just hot garbage mess. I'm just trying to think. Oh, there was a couple other times too that she was taking baby clothes to the post office, and she's sitting here thinking that she was shipping this stuff off to his brother's daughter, which will make her husband like the niece or whatever. When she spoke to the older brother, his name was Chris, he says, I ain't got no daughter. So if anyone is listening, does anyone know who the fuck baby Egypt is? Because that is the laughing joke even with Risa, who was baby Egypt. And even the brother was like, yeah, that's a new one. There's no little girl in the family named Egypt. There's no cousins. Nobody knew who the fuck this Egypt girl was. And the crazy thing about it is, she actually had the full name. She actually had an address that she was mailing this stuff to. So, again, if anyone knows who the fuck baby Egypt is, Risa she's dying to find out. He also went as far to say, to Risa, oh babe, my ex-wife called and my stepdaughter, died. Do you mind if I send her like $2,000 for the funeral? It was just, again, the extreme he went through for these lies. And so also too, when she found out she was pregnant, from my understanding, he came up to her with 3 different rings, had her choose a ring. Come to find out, none of them were real. They were all off of Amazon. And I want to say there's nothing wrong with an Amazon ring, but because you get what you can afford, right? And if you're not materialistic, I'm a type of person that I am not materialistic. I couldn't care less, right? But it's the extent of choose 3 rings because I have so much money, type of situation, and none of them were real. It's just what else did he do? Again, I just wrote down a couple of things. Oh, she also found out that he was also sleeping with prostitutes while they were together. Again, I also have here lied about family, people he was talking to. And the thing about it is he would do that every day. So for hours. So you were talking to no one, because come to find out, this man had no friends, no family. The family didn't fuck with him. Nobody wanted him to stay with them. Friends he supposedly had, he lied about that. Nobody cared about this man. And the biggest thing was in the family, he was known of being that pathological liar. And the older he got, the worse the lies got, right? It was even to the point that, like I said, everyone knew that she was pregnant at one point. Like I mentioned, unfortunately, she did have a miscarriage, but you would think that he would tell his family that. Nope. Instead, he told the family that she had the baby, that it was a boy, a healthy boy. They were sending gifts and money. All of it a lie. And, also too, the aunt and brothers didn't even know he was married once before. It was just lie after lie after lie after lie. Even the social security number he gave on his Zoom. So a lot of this stuff took place during the pandemic. And honestly, I want to say that I honestly believe that if it wasn't for the pandemic, I don't think she would have been that oblivious to what was going on, right? Because she did mention, but because of the pandemic, there was only one person like meeting with the realtor and one person going for, the house tour and this and that and to sign papers. The pandemic had a lot of things limited and things did not work as normally as they did. Like things took for months and months and people were out of work and working from home. And while they should be working, people were sleeping. And as people were sleeping, people were watching Netflix. I mean, the pandemic was a hot, hot mess. So I do think, and I really do believe that if it wasn't for that, I think she would have caught on a lot sooner. Because I think this whole relationship began and ended all within 8 months. 8 months. It didn't even last like a full year. Because if the pandemic was in 2020 and they were over by like July 2021, depending on where in 2020 they met, so we'll give them at least a year. But within a year, Jesus Christ, a lot had happened. I also want to say too, so that's basically all I really want to say about the whole, to this Risa situation. It is the extent of what he did and for how long, and the extent for his lies, even down to like the littlest things. He told the truth about absolutely nothing. Nothing was like nothing. Then I think after she got a little bit smarter, she started calling the university he supposedly went to, the college where he got a scholarship and this and that. He even went as far as to say his father was a pastor. Lies. Like, they laughed and said that man hasn't walked into a church in ever. But even lied about your father being a pastor. He even did as much as act like he hung up the phone and then start crying, dropping to his knees. Oh my God, my grandmother died, for sympathy. Meanwhile, she died I don't know, 8 years ago. It seemed as if a lot of people died during the pandemic that were already dead. So I don't know what was going on with him. I really, really don't. But even down to where you're going every day, your job, even down to you're even lying about your siblings, you're lying about who's on the phone. Just all of it. I do have one question now. When he became and got that VP position, he also let us know that he was getting an assistant, and his name was Dave. I need to know who Dave was. I actually need to know who Dave was because I think as I was falling asleep yesterday, I think I heard her, because she went live after the fact. I think I heard her say there was no Dave, that actually when the doctors and everyone was talking to him, he was disguising his voice. So you're now a Norman Bates for me. You're flipping back and forth. What is happening, and all for what? All of this would have come crumbling down eventually. But then I'm reading the comments and I'm saying to myself, a lot of people saying, well, how did this happen? How did this happen to someone who's grown? I'm gonna tell you how this happened. Exactly how it happened, because she also mentioned it, and I think a lot of us knew where she was going with this, right? And so a lot times, right? Men like this, they prey on the weak, right? And so in her situation, and she felt as if, because she really wanted that baby, she was already plus size and black. And so I know a lot of people, especially on my Patreon family, a lot of people hate when I talk like this, but even coming from her, it is facts. It is what it is. I know some people don't like it, but it's the truth. Us females who are plus size, a lot of times men think, oh, you know what? No one's really gonna love her because she's fat. Let me see what I can do here. Type of situation, like, make you feel as if like no one will like you. And then so the female, in a sense, feels that way. Like, you know what? Oh my God, he's so fine. He's so this. No man will ever love me. Let me hang on to this man. And a lot of times too, there's been a lot of times that we've been in relationships and that we purposely ignore the red flags, for any reason, whether it's because, the guy is providing a house, maybe he's taking care of you and your kid, whatever it is, there's a reason why, or maybe you just flat out think, this, hunk of a man would never love someone like me, but he does. And so we ignore lies, we ignore red flags, we ignore certain things that, like, in the past it would have been a hell no for. Fuck no. And so, and the number one theme, because like I said, all of his girlfriends and ex-wives are now coming out and talking, and one thing I noticed is that all of these women, and they said it themselves, they were broken. They had low self-esteem. They were going through a lot. They weren't loved. They didn't feel love. And that is the perfect prey for men. That's the perfect, because there's nothing like a female being damaged, and then here comes like a Prince Charming ready to scoop you up and give you your fairy tale, story that you've been, running for. Again, a lot of people don't like the way I talk about myself, and it's not like I'm putting myself down, but it is facts. It's horrible how the world thinks, but they do think that way. Being plus size, a lot of people think nobody would love us. It is one of those, the world has people thinking that plus size people, like, we're like the most disgusting thing on earth, or we like, diseased, or we're unhinged, or we have no this, we have no that. Especially if a man knows, like, you've been abused or whatever. Again, a perfect prey. It's the perfect setup. I am going to switch it here and say that, for instance, let me give an example. Many of you know my story. Many of you. It's not a pretty story. Matter of fact, it's fucking horrific. The point is, a lot of you guys know my story. That being said, I had to stop dating for some years. I literally had to, like, I just thought of men, just, So, after years of working on myself, years of just trying to just have a day without crying, I finally decided to start dating again. Now, in my situation, it's a story that I have to tell for many different reasons, and because of my story, a lot of people will understand the reason I am the way I am. That being said, as my Patreon family will label him, Navy bitch, this man, the man I decided to date after all minutes, he started with I love you, and then looked at me like, like I better say it back type of situation. Now looking back at it now, I will always remember that look. But it was like, you better say it, you better say it back, right? And then so I think the fact that I said it back for like no reason, it gave him like, okay, she's falling for this shit. And then next thing you know, he was saying everything that I wanted to hear. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna have that house and the dog and the white picket fence, and if you want kids, I'm down for more kids, blah blah blah. He was saying everything I wanted, everything I needed to hear, everything, because he knew the extent of how damaged and fucked up I was, and he used that against me. And at one point it was working. And the same thing with the pandemic. I think because we were in different states, it allowed him to create more bullshit and to create more stories because we were not together. Again, the pandemic messed a lot of us up. Oh yes, the pandemic has fucked up a lot of us. And so he would tell me stories and this and that. It wasn't until after the fact that I started catching on, because little by little, the more you have more time to yourself, the more you start noticing things like, wait a minute, he doesn't really call me every day. Is it every other day? No, it's actually maybe every 4 days, and he's cool with it. You know why he's cool with it? Because I didn't say shit. That's why he's cool with it. I allowed this to happen, but then I'm like, you know what? I haven't been dating in so long. Maybe this is what people do. Again, he picked the perfect victim. And so, as time went on, it was just like I started learning little things. Yeah, he was in the Navy, but he was the biggest bitch in the Navy. He made it seem as if like his job was so this and so that, and that he was tired every day, and the reason that he couldn't call me is because he was doing this, he's doing that. Come to find out, he was only in the fucking mailroom. In the mailroom. That was your hectic fucking job. But listening to him and his stories, it was, exciting. And someone like me who never dated anyone in the military, this was exciting. And all of his stories, I'm like, ooh, and ah, and really, and I'm engaging, and I'm asking questions. And meanwhile, none of this shit was true. None of it was true. He even talked about the house as well with me. Let's get a house. We're gonna get a house. We're gonna get a house. Well, that house situation went from like it being in New York to it might be in Virginia, to it has to be in Japan, to it's gonna be you and I, to me, you, and his mom, to me, him, his mom, and his aunt. And then I'm like, so wait a minute, so won't ever be as seemed. I noticed on the weekends, like, he would never shower. It was things like anytime he would be on the phone with his mother, or if we were at his mother's house, it was weird how she would always ask, did you brush your teeth today? So again, he painted this picture that I would pay bills, I would pay this, but meanwhile, it's like the mother would laugh and say, oh, he can say he's gonna pay your bills. Funny enough, he can't even pay his own cell phone bill. So it's like all this money you had, you had an apartment, but you didn't have a pot to piss in. So, and it's funny because it would be little things like he would act like he was like this big shot person, back in his high school or whatever. But then it was clear as day that when he met some of his friends, like for the holidays, nobody liked him. Nobody liked him. Nobody cared. And so you made it seem as if you were this big hot shot, and you weren't. The next day, he kept saying, why is everyone blocking me? Oh, you wonder why people are blocking you? Because you are not a nice person. Even the one friend he had left was saying, yo, what happened to you? You're acting all brand new. And like stories that like my Navy bitch would tell me, his friend was like, that did not happen. What are you talking about? And he'd be like, shut the fuck up. Then we went from I'm straight to I'm bisexual to I am pansexual. It was like, I don't know if this man knew the truth, if it slapped him in the fucking face. He was pathetic. He was so pathetic. And then one day, I think everything, because by now, like, I would question everything. And then he also thought I was like this idiot, and so he would say certain things, and I'd be like, that's not true. And he would hate that I would like say that in front of like his family, because it was like, did you just try to check me in front of people who think I'm a king type of shit? And I'd be like, that's not true. He'd be like, yes. I'd be like, no, it's not. Like, stop talking to me like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'd be like, well, look at this. He'd be like, oh, well, that's wrong. Oh, so Google is wrong. And then his mother and aunt, I guess through me, just kind of started seeing that their son wasn't this person, that, a lot of it was just fabricated. And, he would, like, if we get into an argument, he would tell them something totally different than what actually happened. So one day also, I was in his car or something, and I think we picked up his son. Anyway, on the floor, this man had a box of Valentine cards, like all these cards. And I'm saying to myself, why would a man need all of these Valentine cards? And I just want to remind everyone that it was actually December. So, I said to him, let me ask you this dumb question. Why the hell do you need all of these Valentine blank cards for in the back of your seat? So his son automatically was like, ooh, busted. And so he thought he was so smart. He was just like, you do know I have a daughter. Bitch, your daughter do not live in this fucking... I went off, and then his son is just laughing, and he's like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. This is an example of like an angry black woman, because he was mixed. His mother was black, his father was white. And I just snapped. I'm like, oh, so you're saying that because you're busted. You're saying that, and because I was calm as I could be, I just asked him, and he was the one who went off about the cards. And females need to believe they're men, and question. Don't question. The fuck? Do you think we live in a motherfucking castle? Don't question. The fuck out of here. So he's just saying, like under his breath, he's just saying how embarrassed he was because, again, he had this whole, I guess I'm a Navy person, and like there I am embarrassing him in front of his son, and it wasn't even about his son. I was just like, really? So you really expect for me to believe that bullshit? And then I remember he got so frustrated that he stopped the car and turned to me and he says, my mother was right. You are going to be a problem. He says, you do not feed into my bullshit and you do not feed into my stories. And he's like, I can't have that. And he said, but by then I was complete, like I was done. I was so done. It just, I don't know. And then, like even down to like Christmas, you know, he had all these stories about what happened to my gifts and this and that. Meanwhile, you know, he had my gifts, but he had no intention on buying me gifts. But my whole point is, you know, I can see how she got sucked into all of this because the moment that man knew he was the first person I decided to date after, you know, the shit I've been through, he took that and ran with it. But then it's clear from even talking to his daughter and from talking to people from the Navy base and everything else, he pulls his shit with people he can think so. And that's also too why I noticed that a lot of his exes were like 500 pounds and up. Now I'm not shading anyone that's plus size because clear as day I'm not, you know, a skinny mini myself. The point I'm trying to make is, for some reason people think the bigger people are, the more this more low self-esteem they have, and I guess that is true. It is true. You know, anytime someone sees a weakness, they will use that to their advantage to get what they want. So, I don't know. So all in all, you know, a lot of people are mad right now at Risa's story because, you know, she's getting all the perks right now. I think like there's been speculation that she's getting, well, now she's actually going to Paris and Europe, which I'm actually really excited about. That's another promise this bitch ass, you know, promised her that was never coming. But I think because everybody heard her story, people chipped in, and you know, they are sending her to Paris and, you know, England, book deals or whatever. I'm telling you, her story is a hell of a story, and there's just so much more in play. Again, her talking to the exes and stuff like that. And so after she tells her story, many people are coming out. And of course he's saying, now Jerome put a video out stating that you know, Risa is lying and that he has a Netflix deal. Y'all, do you know he tried to play this shit off and try to edit some bullshit that he was actually in Netflix, but once again people reversed image that shit on Google and come to find out these are just pics he got off the internet. So he's still out here trying, and so he also wants us to believe that Ressa, whatever her name is, came out like what, maybe a week ago. He's claiming that he's been in production for 16 days to tell his side of the story, to tell your side of the story, but she didn't even tell her 16 days ago. So what the fuck? And now there is someone else, and oh no, wait, because this is good, guys. This is some good shit. Oh, so a lot of people are coming out. This one lady wants to tell her story about Jerome, but she does not want to label it, who the F did I marry? She wants Risa to get her flowers for, that segment. But she's starting a segment called The Lies He Told. And as of now, she put out part 1 through 5. So I guess I should be watching that. The ex-wife has come out at one point. She said that she did not, because Jerome was married before, she claimed that she did not want to get involved in this nonsense. She said what she had to say, but then she stopped and thought about it and was like, you know what, fuck that. So I don't think any other female is gonna get the recognition that Risa has gotten, because she beat them to the punch. But I do believe that a lot more people are gonna come out and tell their story, as they should, because this man is out here, and it's the same bullshit with the football and the money and the job. His ex-wife, the first wife, even said that he went as far as to cause problems between her and her family with the lies he told. Even called the rift between that family. He likes to be in control. I noticed too that he likes to get these women, get their hopes all up and then rip it from them. He likes watching people get excited off the bullshit they will never have. Isn't that fucked up? He likes to see people's reaction off of stuff they will never have. So like the excitement with the house and the cars and then this and then that is just a lot. This happens more commonly than people think. There are people who are targeted more, manipulation, and why are you questioning me? Because my ex tried to pull that shit too with the crying, and no one believes me, no one loves me. And he just was like, you don't take my shit at all. No, I don't. So anyway, let me know if you've ever been in a relationship that, you ignored, red flags, or ignored this or ignored that because maybe they were just fine, or you were just tired of dating, or, also too, before I go, I also think this happens a lot more in females too that do not have children and their biological clock is ticking. That's the only thing I can say about my life that I am grateful for at this prompt moment. The fact that I couldn't have kids, or I'm too old to have kids. I now do not have to settle for a man because I want a child, and a lot of females fall victim of that, which is why we have so many baby daddies, because we're always looking for the perfect man. But if you want a child, a lot of times people will settle for the bullshit, and so it's just hard out here dating. It's hard. Every female that he has come about, they have had a traumatic experience. They've had therapy. And do you know, this guy is out here talking about he is the relationship coach. He is the relationship guy. Say what? On that note, bitch, I gotta go. Love you guys for watching.